So we will be doing this exercise number 7, scale up and scale down. Okay. So what I've done is I've created a one more VM called Passion Host, which has an IP address 1.12. Okay. So I'll just access that VM. We already have 1.10. Now I'm trying to access 1.11. We already have here. I'm trying to access 1.12. Okay, now I'm created to 1.12, which has an IP address, which has an host name Bastion host. Let's check the IP address as well, 1.12. Okay. Now if I do kubectl, even the kubectl command is not here. Okay. So what I'll do is sudo apt get update. Hope the kubectl will run properly. Generally we have to use an alias for kubectl, but let's check that. So sudo snap install kubectl command, also I'm installing kubectl hyphen classic. So if you see now, I have kubectl installed. If I do kubectl get all, it doesn't know where to connect. Okay, because it is not part of the cluster. The Bastion host is not part of cluster. It was trying to by default access port 8080. Okay, it thought that port 8080 is having the cluster configuration, but it is not there. Okay, so what I'll do is now I'll go to this node and I'll do micro K8s config. Okay, I got this config file. I'll copy it. I'll first create mkdir.cube. Go to .cube directory and copy that config file. Okay, I'm creating a new file and copying the contents of it there. Okay, and just do kubectl get all now, and I'm connected to the cluster. Okay, so it's not necessary that you should always be on the master or the worker node. Okay, we should, if we have the config file, we can connect to it. Okay, so in production environment also, this is one of the method. There are several other methods using certificate and all also. Okay, but this is one of the simplest method to connect to the cluster. You'll be given this config file, but when we did the installation of microcontrollers, it managed it, okay, on its own. But when we have to give the access to someone else, we'll have to give this config file to him or her, and they will add it in ls-ld.cube, whatever, and the name also should be the same config file. Okay, if the name is something else, it will not work. So if I do now kubectl get nodes, I can connect to that cluster, but that cluster is in same IP range, that is 192.168 1 dot something. So I'm able to access it. Okay, if you are in a different VPC, then you won't be able to connect. Now even though I'm on a Bastion host, I can perform all the exercises. So but I don't have the manifest. Let me create it manifest, because the manifest is on some other VM. So I'll have to do everything again. So I'll also give one more demo. I'm creating a development namespace, mkdir manifest, cd manifest, creating a development namespace, creating a prod namespace, okay, just apply it, kubectl apply -f, dev and prod. Okay, and if you check with the kubectl get namespace, we have the two namespaces dev and prod. Now let's quickly create the manifest for deployment and services. Cat, then let's create cluster IP as well. And the node port. So if you all can see, I'm doing everything on some other node, which is not part of the cluster, but we have the config file, so we are able to connect to it. Okay. Now we'll just apply kubectl apply -f nginx deployment for dev and also for the prod. Similarly, kubectl apply -f nginx cluster IP for dev and for prod. Now let's apply it for node port as well. Okay, so if you see kubectl and dev get all, we have two ports running there, and here also we are running the two ports. But the exercise which we are trying to perform is scale up and scale down. So what we'll do is in -n we'll open the file nginx deployment and we'll make it 3 to scale up. Kubectl apply -f nginx deployment in development namespace. We'll do the same thing in the prod as well. So dev and prod, instead of 2, will now have 3 pods. So prod is having 3 pods, the third one is getting created, and in dev also we'll have 3 pods. Okay, now to scale down, just make it 1, and we'll apply it for both dev and prod. So apply it for prod and then for dev, and if you check it now, we can see in development we have only one pod running, and also in prod we'll be having only one pod because we have scaled down. But the scale up and scale down we have done manually. In production it should be done automatically. For that there is a different configuration, we'll see that later. Okay, so that completes our exercise number 6 as well. 5 6 7. Okay. So if there is any question, let me know.